Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. Broaden the scope of exposure for your business by going beyond the interview. Learn more at www.jmmbmediallc.com or email us at jmmbradio@gmail.com. When you write biographies, whether it's about Ben Franklin or Einstein, you discover something amazing. They are human. Today, we welcome attorney Lee R. Phillips, who is a counselor of the United States Supreme Court. He has 3 university degrees and has held licenses in real estate, mortgage brokering, securities, and life insurance, as well as being a registered investment advisor. Lee is nationally recognized in the fields of business structure, asset protection, financial planning, and estate planning. He is the founder of LegaLees Corporation, a company specializing in solving asset protection and tax problems for high net worth individuals. At age 27, Lee spent 5 months in a university hospital ICU and watched the legal system take everything he and his young family had. He understands, therefore, firsthand the importance of asset protection, and he wants to help others avoid personal disasters. Welcome, Lee.
How are you?
Yes.
I'm well. How are you?
Welcome, welcome. Wow.
It's good to be here with you.
Yes, good to have you, Lee. Okay, let's jump right into the period in your life where you were in the hospital in the ICU.
Well, I was just graduated from law school. I was actually going to be a patent attorney. I have a big science background, and I got sick. I was diagnosed with cancer. It was testicular cancer. That's a closet cancer. Nobody talks about it, and yet it's the leading cancer cause of death in males aged 20 to 40. So we need to talk about it, but that's beyond this point. I was diagnosed and given a couple of weeks to live and became the national guinea pig and spent 5 months in intensive care and another 3 years, and I didn't work. And basically, even though I was a lawyer, the legal system took us to the cleaners. We lost everything. My wife, my 3 children, and I would have been actually out on the street had our parents not stepped in and helped us. So after I got through being sick, 1, you're unemployable. So nobody would ever hire me again, which they never did. And 2, I looked at it and said, man, we've lost everything. This isn't going to happen again. So I started to study asset protection, and that works into business structuring and estate planning and these types of things. But it's critical that you have a mechanism that will protect what you build, big or small, and protect it when something happens. And if I say asset protection, your knee-jerk reaction is a lawsuit. No. 56% of all bankruptcies in the United States are a result of somebody getting sick. So the question is, are you going to lose your real estate investments? Are you going to lose your little business when somebody in the family gets sick? And the answer for me was yes. And the answer for you is probably yes. The answer for me today is no, I'm not going to lose my business. I'm not going to lose my real estate holdings. So legally, you can protect those things from the illness, the divorce, the lawsuit. There are just lots of different things that happen to people that threaten their financial security. So is that what you want to talk about then, Ida?
Yes, absolutely. Because people need to be aware that, you know, any of these catastrophic events can happen to anybody. And how do we protect ourselves?
Well, you're going to have to do a little legal juggling in the beginning, but it's critical that you do it. A man came to me in the early 80s, and he wanted to set up a direct marketing business. And by 1990, he got this direct marketing business up to about $150 million a year.
Wow.
He was doing pretty good. And when he came to me, he said, Lee, I want to make it so that if something happens, my wife, my kids, they're protected. They don't lose everything. We can go on. So I structured it, and I used some simple legal techniques and made it so that we took all the profit out of his business and moved it over to his wife's business each year. Now, his wife didn't have anything to do with his business, and he didn't have anything to do with her business. But we'd move money over into her business each year. Well, August 2nd, 1990, if I tell you what happened, you'll know where you were. The Gulf War started. I remember I was actually driving from Boston to Martha's Vineyard, doing business for this guy. And I listened to the war on the radio. We'd never heard a war. We'd never seen CNN cover the war, wall to wall. The United States had declared war. People are afraid. And within 48 hours, this man's business went from 600,000 miles an hour to zero, full stop.
Ooh.
And there were so many lawsuits. He owed the post office $2 million. He took down 3 or 4 printing companies in the city. It was horrible, but he hadn't done anything wrong. He did zero wrong. And there were so many lawsuits that the attorney general in the state actually took over. That's a little weird. And in the court, first thing that happened was the wife's attorney stood up and said, Your Honor, there's no allegation in this complaint that the wife did anything wrong. She had nothing to do with his business. And the judge says, okay, boys, and turned to the attorney general's group and said, well, and they came back in about 15 minutes and said, no, we have no allegation against the wife. So the judge said, fine, case dismissed with prejudice against wife. Wife and her attorney stood up and walked out of court. And there was an audible in the court. There goes the money. The last time I saw this couple was in their penthouse on Kaanapali Beach on Maui, and they were in their mid-50s. They never worked again. But he had taken the time when he started to say, what happens if there's a disaster? He couldn't have foreseen the Gulf War. He couldn't have foreseen what it did to America's buying interests at that time. And because it was direct marketing, he had so much money out front. You have to push this direct marketing. You have to mail the pieces. You have to do everything up front. And he lost everything. But we saved everything too. So you can do this, guys. I'm going to cut to the chase. What you're going to do today is you're going to use a limited liability company, an LLC. You will not use a corporation. The LLC gives you twice as much asset protection as a corporation. The corporation protects you from what happens out in the company. The LLC has the exact same corporate shield or limited liability as a corporation legal structure, except in addition to the corporate shield, the LLC has another asset protection function, which protects the business assets from what happens to the owner. If you have a corporation and it's my corporation and I get sick or I declare personal bankruptcy, I hit a kid in the crosswalk on the way to church, I get divorced, whatever it is, they attack me. When they attack me, they get the stock in my corporation. They now own the corporation, lock, stock, and barrel.
Wow.
In an LLC, they can't come in and get the stock, the membership interests, as we call them. All they can do is get an economic lien against the LLC, which they say charges the debt that I owe against my company, the LLC. But they can't tell me how to manage it. They can't come in and sell it. They can't do anything except if the LLC declares a profit, then they get it. My creditor gets it. I don't get it anymore. So the LLC protects the company and the assets within the company from what happens to the individual owners. That's a big difference, guys. That's huge.
Yeah.
In fact, in the 2008-10 real estate turndown, I saw people that lose 30 pieces of property. This one would go bad. There would be a deficiency. They'd give it back to the bank. The bank would sell it. There'd be a deficiency. So they come to the owner. Now, wait a minute. This is in an LLC. Why can they come to the owner? Because the corporate shield should protect the owner from what happens in the LLC. That's true. But I will guarantee you personally signed the mortgage. So they just come back to you. So they come to you. If you own this second house, they'll come to the second house and get it. They'll come to the third house and get it. They'll come to the fourth house and get it. If this second house is in an LLC, fine. They come to you. They get a judgment against you. You declare personal bankruptcy. They still can't get the house that's in this other LLC. It's protected from what happens to the owners. We call it charging order protection. And it is a very powerful concept that, frankly, most attorneys just jump over. They don't understand, they don't know about it, and they don't care. Because, frankly, attorneys make their money cleaning up the mess. But I didn't want a mess. I wanted to know how to do this to protect myself and people I've worked with over the years. And I had to figure it out on myself. I didn't by myself. I didn't work for a firm. And the lawyers work for firms, and they tell them what to do. I had to figure it out, and it's very difficult to actually understand, why is that piece in that document? It says this. Why does it say that? And most lawyers can't tell you why. Very few can tell you why. And so I studied it and studied it and studied it, and finally figured it out. It was my scientific background. I had to experiment with it. But I figured out, and I'm going to tell you, you want to use an LLC. You do not want a corporation. If you have a corporation, you can change it. The state has forms. Your state has forms that will allow you to change the LLC or the corporation, the corporate legal structure, to an LLC legal structure. Now, you don't have to tell the IRS you did anything. You keep the same tax ID number, because legal structure and taxes have nothing to do with each other. The IRS doesn't know whether you have an LLC or a corporation. All they know is you have an entity taxed under subchapter S of the IRS code. So they don't care. So it's easy to make that change. Make the change and get this additional asset protection, the charging order asset protection that a corporation cannot give you. You can't get it. Now, the neat thing about an LLC is you get to choose how it's going to be taxed. How are you going to have it taxed? You're going to have it taxed if you have real estate income, you're getting rents. You're going to have it taxed as a partnership. That means you need at least two people owning it, right? Got to have a partner. So you're going to have it taxed as a partnership. If you're selling goods and services, legal services, I'm selling dresses, I'm selling widgets on eBay, whatever it is. If you're selling goods and services, you're going to have it taxed under subchapter S of the IRS code. So those are your two tax options, in my opinion. Yes, the LLC can be taxed as a disregarded entity. It can use your social security number and all of that stuff. You can have it taxed under chapter C of the IRS code. And frankly, if you have a business, particularly real estate, if you have a business taxed under chapter C, if you have a C corp, the answer is no, and you can't justify it in 99.5% of the cases. You can't justify a chapter C entity your accountant's screwing you, somebody's taking you to the cleaners, guys. If you've got a Chapter C entity, your little radar antennas need to go up, and you need to say, why do I have this? And you can't give me a good justification. I'll almost guarantee it.
Wow.
Does that help, Ida?
Oh my, that was a lot of great information. So if people want to work with you, how do they do so?
Well, I don't take clients.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the business of educating people.
Okay.
If they want, I'll give them a free, it's a 20-page ebook called the LLC mini course. And it overviews all this stuff a little more detailed about the LLC. That's free to them if they want it. I got COVID a long time ago, and I've still got the cough.
Yeah.
I get that.
But and I've got a mask over the microphone. You won't catch anything, okay?
So
But
how do people get that?
just go to LegaLees. It's a pun on my name. It's legal, Legal, and then EES. There aren't two L's in the middle, just one L. LegaLees, LegaLees.com/Ida. How does that sound? And we'll just send it to them, no charge. We give it to them electronically, so
Yeah.
don't have a cost either. Works good.
Yes, yeah.
Excellent.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions and they're kind of rolling around. So
Ruth, if you want to ask them, I'm willing to help you.
okay, you're saying that all LLC should have a partner, but you can also do a sole proprietor LLC.
Yes,
How do you
I
protect
said
yourself there?
if you're going to have it taxed as a partnership, you've got to have a partner.
Okay.
Now, if you want it taxed under subchapter S, you only need one guy.
Okay.
You can have an LLC taxed as what we call a disregarded entity. You called it a sole proprietorship. It's just me.
Okay.
It's my social security number, and the IRS doesn't know I've got one of these babies. They don't care if I've got an LLC. They just know that I'm making money and I'm filing under a Schedule C, or if it's real estate, it's a Schedule E. That's all the IRS knows. That's all they care about. So I can have it be a disregarded entity, sole proprietorship. I can have it be a partnership if there's more than one guy or girl. And I can have it taxed under subchapter S, or I can even have it taxed under chapter C of the IRS code. So the LLC is really flexible. You get to choose how you want it taxed.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think many people do have single disregarded entity LLCs because they're starting their own business and they want they don't know what you just told us.
Well, I'm going to tell you something else.
They want some kind of protection. They know that making themselves a corporation, they get the broad idea that they're vulnerable for everything. But the information you're giving us is getting down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
Well, the LLC gives them better asset protection. And I'm going to tell you something else that nobody else is going to tell you. I've gone very deep into taxes over the last 15, 20 years. I'm a U.S. federal tax court attorney. And what I realized as I went along is the IRS is actually your number one asset protection threat, guys. The IRS has taken 20, 30, 40, 50% of everything you bring in the door. Isn't that an asset protection threat?
Yes.
So I've studied the IRS, and I actually have a lot of former IRS agents actually working now in my office, and they do accounting or tax work for people, not accounting. But one of the things that most people don't understand is we have 85,000 IRS agents. This year, they are adding an additional 30,000. So, and they're doing good. They're going to make it. So at the end of the year, we won't have 85,000. We're going to have 115,000. And they have stated that they're going to get that up to 160,000. They're going to double the number of IRS agents. They have stated that they want to take the audit from less than 1% up to 10%. They want to get an extra $1 trillion out of audits. So your chance of audit just went through the roof, guys. What people don't understand is, any one of the 115,000 IRS agents can audit a 1040 form with a Schedule C or Schedule E. That's your sole proprietor, isn't it, Ruth?
Mm-hmm.
Less than 0.5% can audit a partnership or a subchapter S. The reason is you have to have a degree in accounting. How many of these 30,000 agents they're getting off the street this week have a degree in accounting? And you have to be trained for 3 years at the IRS at the cost of over $1 million to the IRS. So you have to have a degree in accounting, and you've got to be trained for 3 years to audit a partnership or a sub S. Read between the lines.
That is very interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So now I need to go back, and I think mine's is like a Schedule C. I have an LLC, but it's not, it's just me. And I know I've never seen them use a S form.
Well, how are you making your money, Ida? Are you selling your services or are you selling goods?
Services.
Okay, if you're selling services, you want to be taxed under subchapter S.
Okay.
And the reason is the law of subchapter S says you can take, let's say I make $100,000. I can take $30,000 as a salary. The other $70,000 I can take as a distribution. The money I take as a distribution, I don't have to pay the 15.3% employment, Social Security, FICA, FUTA, all that crap. So I get a 15.3% bump immediately on the 70,000.
Okay.
If you are a sole proprietor or a partner, you have to take all $100,000 and pay the employment tax on it. Can you see the difference?
Okay, so when I get my taxes done, even though I'm an LLC, they never said anything. And by me not being,
They don't help you.
no, they don't. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason they don't help you, Ida. And the reason is, if the accountant takes the numbers that you give them, plugs them into the computer and spits out your taxes, there's zero liability in that. As soon as they say, Ida, you know, you really ought to change from a sole proprietorship to a subchapter S entity, if something goes wrong, anything goes wrong, they're liable. They won't take the liability in.
Okay.
So that's why. So
the accountants have learned to keep their mouths shut.
wow. So I have a question. So I'm an LLC. How do I take the S, the Corp S, whatever you called it? This is so.
Well, you're going to have to file for an EIN number, an
I have
employer
an
identification
EIN.
number.
I have an EIN.
Well, you don't need an EIN with a sole proprietorship. That you didn't need. So you're filing an extra piece that you don't need. But you've got an EIN. So you're going to have to file the form with the IRS. What is it? 2225 or 2025. You're going to have to file a form with the IRS that says, I want to be a subchapter S entity. Then they will make you a subchapter S. You can change your taxing structure, no questions asked, with the IRS every 5 years.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I need to do that for next year.
That would be good. In fact, you can do it now and it will be retroactive for this year.
Okay, and what's that? Let me just make sure I write this down because
I don't know the tax number. Just a minute. Let me see if I can figure it out.
okay, yeah.
I've
Wow,
got
this is some great information, Lee.
Yes. I hope people are listening.
Yes, because a lot of people have LLCs
Mhm.
and they just
They
apply
have no
for
idea.
it, and they don't have this in depth.
Yeah,
It's
they
a
don't know how it
form.
really works.
It's a
We did
form
it because we were told to do it.
2553.
Form 2553.
Yeah, I actually have a whole set of materials here that walk you through how to fill that out, how to do everything associated with an LLC.
Okay.
It's
okay.
called the
Can you give that
LLC
number?
Wizard. You can get it
Oh,
on the internet, but I go through and I talk to you for over 8 hours. It's all indexed. Talk to you for over 8 hours and give you all of the forms electronically so you can set up your own LLC in any state. I have instructions for each state and you can write your own operating agreement. It's really easy, guys. And I'll be willing to bet you can do a better job than 85% of the lawyers in your town.
I would say so. Could you give us the number for that form one more time, please?
2553.
Okay, I did
okay,
hear it correctly.
25.
So now I have another question for you. You have your one LLC. And let's say, for me, it would be voiceovers. Okay, so I've got one LLC. If I open up another LLC for another business, how will that work?
Well, you're going to set up 2 LLCs.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pay the state fees for each one.
Right.
You're going to be the member, the owner of each one.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, we can go a lot deeper here. You shouldn't be the member. Your living revocable trust should be the member, the owner, because you don't want to have to probate this LLC when you die. The family, you want it to go directly to the family.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to have your living trust actually be the member, but for most people, they are the member. And depending upon how you want it taxed, you just ignore things, use your social security number, and it's a sole proprietorship. You declare it as a partnership and you file a 1065 form at the end of the year. You go through the paperwork and you fill out the form. It's a 1-page form for the IRS, the 2553, and you become a subchapter S. So you get to pick how it's done. And I can have this one be taxed as a partnership and this one taxed under subchapter S if I want. So the LLCs are very flexible. They're really neat tools.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the word that I have not heard. I've heard the word entity. I've heard the word, of creating your corporation or your work entity, but I have never heard that term.
What
It is
term?
a tool. It is a tool. The LLC is a tool.
Well,
And
they're all legal tools.
Yeah, people don't really see it that way.
No, they don't.
Not at all.
No.
When you hear people talking about their LLCs, and
Well, the problem is you go down to one lawyer, you get one story. You go to another lawyer, you get another story. You go to your accountant, you get a third story.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is lawyers only have a very limited number of tools.
Okay.
But as a construction guy, as a carpenter, I can build very different houses using the same tools, right?
Mm-hmm.
A hammer, does it drive nails in or pull nails out? All depends, right?
Yeah, it has two
it.
ends, one for hammering and one for pulling up.
Yeah, and then you got a ball peen hammer that doesn't have 2 ends. But and the problem is one firm teaches their lawyers how to use this tool to drive nails in. The other firm teaches their guys how to use the same tool to pull nails out.
Mm-hmm.
So if I use it for asset protection, I may not get the full tax benefits out of it. Most lawyers don't understand there's often a trade-off there. They've just said this tool is asset protection. No, it's also taxes. So I have to know what the tools do, and then I can at least direct my lawyer as to what to do with them. So your lawyers, I'm going to say they do it out of ignorance, although the lawyers do it the way they've been taught, and they do it to keep their continuity in their business going, their legal work cooking. You know, my granddaughter went to school last fall, and the teacher says, well, what does your grandpa do? And she says, well, he's an attorney. And the teacher said, honest? And my granddaughter said, no, he's just a regular one.
Wow. So Lee, if people want to, you done opened up a can of worms here.
Oh,
I'm sorry, didn't mean to, honest.
Now people are going to want to be coming at you and talking to you and picking your brain for more.
Oh, it's going to be slim pickings, Ida.
So again, how do people get the guide that you have?
It's called the LLC mini course. They go to LegaLees, LegalEes. There's only one L in the middle. LegaLees.com/Ida.
Oh, okay.
IDA. That's pretty easy. I'll give you the link. Maybe you can post it someplace.
Yes. Make
Yes,
sure I get
indeed.
it. Wow. We need to have you
We will
come
do that.
back because
Hey, we can do this on taxes. I'll blow your mind on taxes, Ida.
Yes.
People have no clue what taxes are. No clue.
exactly. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
So
We
that's
paid
a
them.
date. That's
Oh,
a
we got a
date.
date? Okay.
Yeah, we got a date. So I'm definitely before the end of the tax year comes, because
Yes.
people need to have this information well ahead of time so they can plan better.
Well, tax planning isn't a December 15th or a December 31st item
Right.
or an April 15th item.
Different.
You have to think all year long, every transaction you do, what's the tax? Could I structure this deal differently to give me a better tax outcome?
Okay. Well, we are definitely so happy that you joined us today, and I will be sending you a link so that you can reschedule like real soon.
Okay.
So that we can get more information, because we've had tax people, we've had attorneys. No one has been like you.
No one.
No one.
Oh, I'm unique, I guess.
Yes,
Yes, you are. You are.
Well, it's born out of from the mother of necessity. So I had to protect myself. I had to figure it out.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes it all different. Like you said, yours came out of the mother of necessity.
Yes.
People come from, this is their education, this is their career, this is what they do. But when it comes from an experience that you lived through and had to find an answer to for yourself and your loved ones, you're coming from a totally different place.
Well, the other way I'm coming is as an educator.
Yeah.
Because I won't take you as a client. And so I'm not setting you up to be a client. I don't care where you go get your stuff done. I just want to tell you about it.
Well, you're right in line, because that's what this platform is all about, is educating people.
Well, you ladies are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, very soon.
All right. We'll see you soon, unless you're lucky.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you so much.